I had just turned 28 when I proposed to my girlfriend of 3 years, who was 26 at the time. It happened a few months ago, and up until that point, I believed we had a balanced, peaceful relationship. She had always been fairly laid back and seemed to appreciate my opinions on most matters. Yet, as soon as the ring slipped onto her finger, it felt as though her entire demeanor shifted. She became quite controlling and extremely stubborn, to the point where she wanted everything her way without any room for negotiation. I tried explaining that I also had thoughts about how I envisioned our wedding, but she simply brushed off my words. She planned every single aspect by herself, down to the smallest detail, and insisted on inviting whomever she pleased. She even tracked down some of my very old acquaintances, people I hadn't spoken to in forever, and insisted they be there, convinced that absolutely everyone who had ever known me should be on the guest list. I attempted to argue that having these people there would be incredibly awkward, but she wouldn't budge. Eventually, I gave up trying to rein in her decisions, and I just held out hope that the side of her I once knew would return once the wedding was over. I knew she had control issues. My close friend, who was the one who set us up, had hinted at that in the past, but I never imagined the problem ran so deep. She had to call every shot, and if someone dared oppose her, she would spiral into this intense meltdown. Because I truly cared for her, I endured her behavior for those weeks leading up to the wedding. But then, she crossed a line so significant it shattered any illusions I still held. A few months earlier, as we were compiling our guest list together, she asked me out of the blue about my sister. That in itself was surprising, because I had already made it crystal clear early on in our relationship that my sister and I hadn't spoken for 10 years. I had gone no contact with her, and I intended to keep it that way forever. My fiancée had met my parents for the first time around 6 months into our relationship. While at my parents' place, she noticed all these family pictures showcasing me as a kid, alongside someone who looked exactly like me. Naturally, she asked who this identical girl was. With no small measure of reluctance, I told her that was my twin sister, someone from whom I had been estranged for a decade. My fiancé knew very well that the two of us had a bad history and that I never wanted to see my sister again. Yet, apparently, she decided that my preference wasn't worth respecting. My twin sister, who is the same age as me, and I were not close while growing up. Yes, we had those smiling, cheerful family portraits on the wall, showing us hugging and laughing as if we were best friends. However, beneath that facade, we were the very opposite. We resented each other deeply and were always looking for new ways to outdo one another. Our rivalry wasn't innocent or playful, it was laced with real animosity that only grew stronger as we aged.